J. Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah.
That's the question, right?
The Cavs are winning it all. That's it. They're winning it all.
Things are getting feisty.
Max Strus is the difference maker. They're winning it all.
Hey, I'll tell you, Monty Bates was impressive last night sitting on the bench.
He was. Listen,
he was
balling.
3 deep from getting in.
Hey, man, his celebrations was cold. His celebration was crazy.
That may be all we see of him for a while.
He was the first dude off the bench like this when everybody else shot threes.
All right, good. They won last night, the Cavaliers. We're going to talk about them later in the show. Busy show for you today. Quarterback reaction from the panel. What happened yesterday? They've signed P.J. Walker now.
Yeah, we were fired up. Earl, G, and I.
You guys were kind of doing a show.
We were arguing.
Yeah, we was. We got a lot of stuff to get to, man.
Heavy-duty arguments going on.
I listened to what you guys were saying. And I think that we may get to that in the show today.
Yeah.
By the way,
it's an interesting point that G's making.
Yeah. By the way, I'm around G so much now that when my dog was like under the table while I was trying to eat, he was being really annoying. And I turned to him and said, "Crash, you're out of pocket." That's how often I'm around him right now.
and he went.
Yeah, he had no clue what that meant.
I don't know what that verbal cue is. Out of pocket. Bernie's here. Got to ask him about Taylor Swift.
Yes.
I mean, can you believe this? Our quarterback, Bernie Kosar, is more famous than he's ever been at any point in his playing career because he took a picture with Taylor Swift.
Right.
I got a theory. It's a deep, dark theory of how he actually knows Taylor Swift. I can't tell it right now. I tell you, I got a theory, though.
I think I know how he knows Taylor. Well, how he got to know Taylor Swift.
Got you. Mm-hmm.
So, Bernie's going to be here. He'll tell us all about his brush with greatness. Tay-Tay, as we call her up in the newsroom. Everybody in the newsroom is a Swiftie but me.
They call her Tay-Tay?
They call her Tay-Tay.
Is that what all her fans call her?
I don't know.
Is that what all her fans call her?
I have never heard Miss Nuggets call her Tay-Tay.
I think,
Miss Nuggets is a
honestly, that's a punchable offense. Now, we don't punch women.
Yeah.
But if a man said that, I'd have to punch him because that's a punchable offense.
I think that's what Taylor Swift is known by up in the newsroom now. If you say Tay-Tay to anybody, they're like, what'd she do?
I thought that Tay-Tay sounded like one of my cousins.
I didn't know you were cousins with Tay-Tay. So a lot to get to. Aditi's also going to join us on the program. Our first hello and good morning of the day to Mikey McNuggets, who tried to call me. My phone was on Do Not Disturb. Don't ask me how it got there. I don't even know how you do that.
Well, our phone issue, Jay, we have to get back on track because yesterday you responded to a text from July from me.
Well, now
and
that
looked at me was weird, and then today I tried calling you, and you had essentially blocked me out. So,
by the way,
I don't know what's going on.
I think we may need to discuss whether Jay has finally hit old age right here.
Finally? What are you talking about? When it comes to this, I make text messages, I play games, I take phone calls.
Yeah,
that's it.
Jay also has quadruple XL font on his phone. He reads from K to J. That is all that he sees.
Want to see my text font?
It's
not that large. I can't read it.
Yeah.
Wait till you hit 50 is all I got to say.
I have hit 50, and I can't read it either.
It's terrible.
When I'm in my I watch the Browns games in my basement, but then I look at my phone and I'm like,
yeah, when it's dark, it's even worse. I know what you mean.
Right, because I like the lights off to watch the game.
The first time it hit me, I was at a restaurant, and we were ordering. And I thought, who the hell smeared Vaseline all over this menu? Yeah. I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And I've got 2010 vision. Even now, I have 2010 at a distance. But up close, it's just all blurred.
Yeah, it's awful.
It'll happen, Mikey, and then you'll think back of when you used to make fun of my large font, and you'll be glad that they have that feature on the phone.
My dad does it too, so it's
does he?
Yeah.
Your dad just had a birthday, right?
Just turned 60.
Yeah, okay. So he and I are very similar age.
I'm 40, and I still can't see nothing. I've been had these glasses for like 3-4 years. Oh, and by the way, it's so bad that I had to start getting my sunglasses in prescription.
Oh, really?
I was like, I can't wear sunglasses because I can't.
Wow.
I definitely can't.
They was
there.
happening there.
Yeah.
We got a busy show. We're going to get into topics, but first, a reminder of what the #1 sports book in all of America is, and that is obviously FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when they place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, on a simple $5 bet. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's literally no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is so easy to use. Even Jake can use it. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. That's, once again, FanDuel.com/UCSS. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And maybe you guys can become the next Brian Abrams, who turned a $1.79 bet into a $303 payout with a 5-part parlay on NBA's opening night. He had Nurkic over 9.5 rebounds, over 11.5 points, over 2.5 assists. Michael Porter Jr. alternate rebounds, over 10.5, and a little baseball sprinkled in here. Brandon Paft with 7 or more strikeouts. That all hit, and he turned $1.79 into $303. If you want to be like Brandon, make sure you got Brian. Make sure you guys head over to FanDuel.com.
Return. First of all, I didn't know you could bet $1.79.
That's where I was going with this, Bull. First of all, Brian, I'm glad you won. You need the money. If you're betting $1.79,
right? You think
that
you just
sounds
bet
like
$2.
sofa money.
Yeah, right.
You're shaking. I got to get this bet in. What do I have?
Yeah.
And that's $1.79.
That's like 180 times his return. You know?
Yeah, but just round up to $2, and you got another $70.
Hey,
by the way,
it hits real quick because we got to get into quarterbacks.
Right.
P.J. Walker starting. Deshaun is not, but Deshaun is going to speak to the media today.
Interesting.
Despite the fact he's not starting or playing. That's according to Mary Kay Cabot. We were going to talk about how we all think the Browns made the right choice to shut him down on Wednesday. And if you're not playing, you usually don't talk to the media.
This is fascinating.
By the way, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
The Browns spread on FanDuel went over that big number from 3 to 3.5. Which is always a big thing when you move a line from 3 to 3.5.
It is.
A lot of games end as 3-point games. I think it's fascinating that Deshaun Watson is speaking. This goes to a conversation that G and I got into a feisty conversation off the air about Deshaun Watson. He thinks there's some nefarious things going on in play behind the scenes.
Do you want to start with that? Because I think it's pretty interesting. Your theory. I'm with Bull. I don't buy your theory, but your theory is an interesting one.
So let me go ahead and just give you the background. So basically, you know me, I'm a comment section guy. And, I wanted to try to feel the temperature. That's one of the things I try to do. Like, I'm out in the street a lot. I'm out and about. And people come up to me and talk, and either I'm going to restaurants, people talk, but I check out not just our comment section, but the comment section for, the most popular Brown sites. Quincy Carey is very popular. You got Cleveland.com, Mary Kay, and those guys over there as well. So I digest a lot of Browns content, including my own, barbershop content. So when I'm looking at the comment section and I'm on Twitter and I'm just trying to gather the temperature in the room, I've seen a drastic flip. Usually in the beginning of the season when he was playing, even if he was playing poorly, there was not the calls for this is the worst trade of all time. Browns got fleeced. And on top of it, the vitriol is different. The vitriol now, you see more and more sexual assault jokes. You see more and more people, and people putting their name next to it. You've also started to see more and more local media, national media, second guessing the move, more of the national media. And obviously, we had the crescendo with Brady Quinn. And I think what's happening is the narrative and the miscommunication of whether he's going to play in a day-to-day situation is killing his character, how people perceive him, because people are now saying and questioning whether he's hurt anyway. So when you keep saying day-to-day, they've already said that he was cleared to play, right? So that's already in somebody's mind. 2, the general manager said he was supposed to be playing way earlier than he is now. So now in their mind, they're thinking, well, how hurt could this guy be? Everyone's saying he's not hurt, and then he takes a little hit like that, and now he's hurt again. So if people are saying if he was hurt that bad this last time, Why are they not just shutting him down? Why is he day to day? And my theory is this. If you shut Deshaun Watson down for the rest of the season, what is the focus now squarely on? Squarely on the head coach.
I think it's still squarely on him.
And squarely on the shoulders of the GM. Because now there is no Deshaun Watson to distract the media. All you have is PJ Walker. Is your team playing well? Are you winning games? And second guessing. Why did you have him out there? Why didn't you get another quarterback? What's going on with the offense? Now, those things you can't hide from that. That's just on your shoulders.
But G, what I'm looking at now is the general manager rolled us into the season woefully underprepared.
Yes.
That's on him.
Yes.
And he is not escaping that.
Well,
and I think
for us, we are informed. We are informed of what was happening. For the
I think the general fan, look, when Watson wasn't available and they put a quarterback out there who had never played in the NFL before, fans quickly found out, oh, this isn't going to work. And then when they went to PJ Walker, we're also saying, this isn't going to work. You don't have to be informed.
Yeah.
Just watch the games and see who they're putting out on the field.
But I think right now the onus is not on the fact that they didn't go get another quarterback.
It is for me.
The onus of the population, as I've been watching it, and the common fan, is saying that Deshaun Watson got $230 million and does not want to play. But that is a majority.
Listen, you're looking at a lot more stuff than I am. Remember, there's a lot of people that love the Browns that are not on social media, that are not tweeting.
Real quick.
The vast majority of Americans are not on social media.
Mike Florio put out an article this morning exactly with what G's saying. And he said it's all speculation, but Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk put out an article exactly with what G said this morning.
Did he really? I didn't see it.
What was he saying? That
exactly what G just said. That he doesn't
was
believe,
specifically saying that there's speculation Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play?
I'll get you the headline, but essentially he said there's something fishy going on in Cleveland.
Okay, so here's the thing. The bottom line is that stuff is all irrelevant. All that matters is what Jimmy Haslam thinks. Now, Jimmy Haslam is a lunatic, right? So we don't know what he's thinking. All I know is any relatively intelligent person is, like, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry may be many things that you like or don't like. They're not idiots. Purposely throwing your quarterback under the bus because you think that's going to save your job, to me, is stupid.
Well, if you remember,
why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense.
There was all kinds of that similar speculation, and I know you guys remember it. There was a fan conspiracy theory that in the Steelers game, Baker's last year, they left him unprotected with no tight end to chip, and he got sacked 9 times. And a lot of fans were like, hey, you made nothing. You made no adjustment. You put that guy out there to get him hurt so you can be done with him. A lot of fans believe that.
I believe a lot with Baker Mayfield is true.
If either of these are true, and there's no way of knowing unless they would give them truth serum and they would say, yeah, we left Baker on an island on purpose. I can't fathom that they would do that because, to your point, they're not idiots.
That doesn't benefit
now,
you.
When I was watching in real time, I'm yelling at the screen saying, are they idiots? Why are they not giving him help? Who was it, Hudson, that was on that side? And he just play after play after play, and 9 times.
Because you got to think about it. When they were here with Baker Mayfield, they had made in their minds that they didn't want to give him the money that he wanted. They were apart on the number from the previous year.
Okay, you don't have to put him out there to get killed to get there.
So here's how it went down. They decided, hey, we want our own quarterback. It's kind of hard to get your own quarterback if the quarterback you have right now is beloved.
You're right.
Affordable,
but if
they're playing well.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I can't allow my brain. and here's why. Maybe it's because this is the team I love.
Okay.
I mean, you guys probably don't even know how much I love this team. People think that I love to come up here and throw darts. I don't. That's my job.
Yeah.
And I have to at least say what I see. Mm-hmm. If that is true, we're worse than I ever imagined. If you have a sabotage, an internal sabotage,
guys,
I just can't believe that.
We have reached a point in our society where anybody says anything and we can just pretend it's true.
It gets legs.
Right?
Yeah. Now, Florio's different
But I'm not even talking about sports. Look at society. Look at politics.
You're right. Everybody
All
with a
these
Twitter
things,
handle suddenly has a voice.
Everybody throws out all kinds of nonsense, and it takes on a life of its own.
It can.
Anything is possible. You know, anything is. Yeah, of course there could be a conspiracy theory.
I've lived in this. I've lived in the Brown sphere. Let's think about in the Brown sphere things that you thought was crazy that would have never happened, but you found out was true. How's about somebody getting on the cell phone and calling and say put Johnny Manziel in the game? That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
ludicrous.
You're right.
How's about Jimmy Haslam picking like his quarterback almost basically by any, mini, miny, mo?
Or as legend has it, a homeless person.
Yes.
Well, that's not true.
Or
I mean, actually, I don't know if that's not true.
We don't
know that it's true or not true.
A head coach gave a PowerPoint about why he hated your organization so much to let him out of the contract. That's crazy. Like that never. They had a.
But
you are right.
There are crazy things with the Browns. Those things, at least in theory, could benefit the person, right?
But here's what I'm saying. At that time, you got to think about it. When they had Baker Mayfield, when you say benefit them, their benefit was we want our quarterback.
We're now doing what we get mad at other people for. We're throwing out stuff with no facts to back it up. There is no proof, no facts whatsoever. So we got mad at Brady Quinn, deservedly so, for throwing out nonsense.
That's
without
why I'm
knowing
interested.
And then we're essentially doing the same thing.
I'm interested though to hear what the
How
report.
does this?
What did the report say from today?
Go ahead, go
No,
start.
listen, Florio. It was
Florio
not,
is.
he did not. This is not even a report. The article is titled "Strange Vibes Continue Between Browns and Deshaun Watson." He essentially put into words G's conspiracy without facts. He was just pointing out things that he thought were fishy. There's no sources. It's just Mike Florio. It's more of a
now. A lot of
than
times,
a
what Mike does is he gets whispers on stories, and he can't necessarily say a source because then everybody in Cleveland is looking around like who's the mole. So a lot of times he'll talk to a lot of people and he'll develop his opinion. I do think that sometimes his opinions, his straight opinion, which that is rooted in some kind of whisper within the organization.
How would benefit Kevin Stefanski?
That's my point.
I will tell you.
Because Baker Mayfield, you want him to be gone, you want the fans to turn on him.
I don't
if
buy
the fans
that
turn on
either.
Deshaun Watson, they're still tied to him for 4 more years.
No, but here's the thing. If they turn on Deshaun Watson, that's the collateral damage. What Stefanski is doing is saying, look, Deshaun Watson is hurt. We couldn't even put a game plan in because he's day-to-day. From day-to-day, we didn't know what he was going to do, where he was going to be at.
Right.
We lost Nick Chubb. So, look, hey, we've been through the most, and look where we're at. We're 4-2. We got P.J. Walker at the helm. Guess what? He uses that so that now it gives you more time. If you get pulled in the office and your manager says, tell me why I should keep you if they don't make the playoffs. And here's my thing. If they keep P.J. Walker at quarterback, they're not going to make the playoffs. Let's be clear.
Yeah, but Bull accurately made the point early on, no excuses this year. None.
Listen, we don't know what
Teams
Jimmy
lose
Haslam's going
quarterbacks.
to do.
Hey.
All I know is if I were the owner of the Browns, if you don't make the playoffs, you're getting fired. I got to find somebody else. That's it.
So guess what?
So throwing your if they're throwing the quarterback under the bus, Jimmy Haslam would know about it. The teammates would know about it if they were purposely doing that. And that would set a terrible precedent within the organization, and there's no way that would help me.
No one would ever want to play here.
Let me ask you, and sometimes you can be incompetent to a point where you don't even know what you're doing. You inadvertently put him in a bad situation. Go back to when he was talking during the suspension time. How many times did y'all sit up here and say, why is Deshaun talking? Why don't they have a PR guy?
Right.
Why aren't they doing that? What's going on with that? That was one strike. When you developing somebody's narrative, and first of all, he's a guy we didn't draft. So you know that the fans are going to be apprehensive to latch on. You got to have imaging and messaging ready to go. They didn't have it last year. This year turns around. And instead of having the imaging and messaging in place, you string this along and people think, generally speaking, that there's nothing wrong with him. Because you keep saying inadvertently, there's nothing wrong with him.
Though, there is one control in this experiment, and that is his play. Because
Right.
he has played 4 games.
Yep.
3 games this year.
Parts
of 4.
Yeah,
Part of a 4th.
Played 3 games.
Yeah.
And not boding well for the general manager is that this guy has not been the savior that you told us he was going to be. Mm-hmm. And you told us that because of what you gave up.
Yep.
You gave up the 230. You gave up the 3 number 1 draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
That's an all-in trade. That means that's a Super Bowl trade.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make a trade like that to make the playoffs. You just made the playoffs 1 year earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This is a trade to win it all. The fans are looking at his body of work, and we've seen enough to know that ain't getting us to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately we can't fire Deshaun. Who the hell made this move? And that puts him squarely in the crosshairs.
And that is the reason they are so concrete on not shutting him down. They won't even mention him sitting out games because they need him to perform in order.
But he doesn't want to be shut down either, G. And players have always had that power. It's not a Browns thing.
No. Players don't got that power.
Yes, they do.
Really?
Come on, quarterbacks
Baker
don't have
did.
the power.
Baker did.
Listen, here's what I'm saying. And Kevin Stefanski said, you know what? If you want to keep playing, we're gonna sit you on that sideline.
But there was a game earlier where he said Deshaun wants to play, but we're not, he was cleared, allegedly cleared.
That cleared. Right?
And Deshaun said he couldn't play. So, guys, the messaging on this is
been terrible.
All over. And I can understand
Yeah.
why Florio and others in the media and even fans can be looking at this saying, what in the hell is going on in Cleveland?
Why? And maybe they have, but I don't know why. And I actually had Mary Kay on my podcast today. That'll be out today. But I didn't ask her this question specifically, and I should have. Why? Like, has anybody asked Kevin Stefanski what has happened here? Why is the messaging been so off?
Yeah, now he's so buttoned up.
Listen, anything's
he doesn't
possible.
say anything.
It's possible. You're right. I mean, but we could come up with a theory like this on everything, and I just feel like
I remember.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's go to another sport. Mikey, you can attest to this. Go back to the San Antonio Spurs when they're at the end of their dynasty. They had Parker Ginobili, still had Tim Duncan, and the guy that they were pushing in the spotlight at that time was Kawhi Leonard. He became their best player, de facto player. Tony Parker and the rest of those guys were counting on him to carry the load. They were coming to him saying, hey, you're injured. Okay, cool, but we need you to get you back. We need you to get you back. The organization never said that it was as serious as it was, so his teammates kept being on him. Hey, man, what you doing? You leaving us behind, blah, blah, blah. Kawhi Leonard didn't say anything, right? He goes out and he's sitting out. He goes to New York to get all this, check. They find out they misdiagnosed him or whatever the case may be. And he says, I'm never, ever, ever playing for the Spurs again, right? Because he felt like they pressured him to come back and play when he was not ready to play. So my thought process is this. It happens in all kind of different sports, right? If Deshaun Watson, listen to what he's saying. He said, are you going to play on this Sunday? He said, I don't know. But if you ask his coaches and the GM the same thing, they've been saying yes since Jump Street.
That is true.
So when people say, well, guess what? I'm not playing, they're not looking at them. They're looking squarely at you.
That's why I called it yesterday. I called it InfoWars.
Right.
It feels now, and I can understand why Florio's come to this conclusion because I did yesterday. I said it feels now like it's your information versus the team's information. And to your point, all of the breadcrumbs that the organization has dropped have led us to think, not that bad, he's going to be out there.
Well, they ruled him out yesterday, so
now
that's not in that
They
vein.
did,
Yeah.
definitively ruled him out. However, we're 4 games into this mess.
Well, they ruled him out early against the Niners, too, on Wednesday.
Initially, 10 days before the game, the general manager stood in front of the media and said he's going to play.
He did.
So, again, messaging from the team is not that serious. Day to day, to me, means
crazy.
By Saturday you could be good.
That's
week
crazy.
to week is completely different.
Didn't Stefanski, when he was asked about it after the game, say he will be the starter if he's healthy?
He
part's
circled
being
back.
left out.
He circled back, and they cleared that up with Mary Kay cleared that up earlier this week. Because the quote that I heard was him saying, "Yeah, he's going to be he should be good to go. We expect him to play."
Yeah.
Or no, he's my starting quarterback.
But obviously,
then he came back around later and said, obviously if he's healthy, he's my starting quarterback.
Right. And then the next thing he said this week was he's out.
So, Bull,
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Yes, it's been mixed. Initially, on the day after the game, it was He's day to day. We're gonna take a look. This is a wait and see. Then we hear that he's practicing Friday. This was before the Baltimore game, and we thought, wow, he must be good. Now, the only confusing thing to me about all of your theory is Deshaun himself did no favors for himself when he told Mary Kay Cabot on Friday before the Ravens game, I expect to play.
He's the one who hurt himself there.
He did.
100%.
But there was already damage done. He may have been, this is part of the theory, he may have been saying, well, hell, my coach and my general manager expected me to play. I got to be an Iron Man, and I got to play.
What are you going to say against that? Like you got to, if you take it in a vacuum, it don't really make sense. But take the totality of it. You're a guy who came in here under the most controversy in the league. So when you immediately step in here, you have to have to indoctrinate and ingratiate yourself to a new fan base, a new media base. You also have not played in 2 years, which means that you could come back and not play well, and we want you to play well. So you're not playing well, you're not getting the benefit of it out there.
Right.
And on top of that, you're in a locker room with people. Myles Garrett been Myles Garrett. He was drafted here. Denzel Ward, drafted here. Right. Joe Bitonio, those are the real leaders because they've been here in that organization. So what you're trying to do, you may have that C on your chest in just, but what you're doing is you're trying to prove yourself to the other 53 men in there.
What's weird is the game he was injured is the game he started to win over teammates and fans and media.
Thank you. Yeah. And he didn't want to give that capital back. He said, listen, I'm just starting to get in here. I'm just starting to, people is showing, I'm showing them what I can be. Team is following me. And so when you tell me, all right, now I got to burn all of that goodwill because I'm out. No, I'm going to play as quick as I can because I still want that feeling. I need to get out there and prove myself. And the thing that got Baker hurt wasn't the fact that it was the money. It was proving himself. He had to prove that he was worth what he thought he was. And when you got something to prove, bull, you're going to go through a wall.
But the bottom line is, all that matters really is not what the fans think, is what his teammates think, what his coach thinks, what the owner thinks. I mean, that's it. But he's got his money in terms of, and that's the same thing for Stefanski. What the fans think of Stefanski is irrelevant. All that matters is what the players think, what the owner thinks. That's it.
I love what you just said that. On our morning call, McNuggets said, Browns defense, at what point in time when you got P.J. Walker out there, does that become something where it becomes infuriating because you got to play damn near perfect in order to win football games?
I think we've
reached that point.
And guess
we've
what?
reached that point.
And when you as a defensive player start looking at my effort being wasted, and I got P.J. sitting there, but I got Deshaun Watson sitting right here, we say, if we could get just something.
You could see why there'd be animus.
Just a couple
particularly because there is some messaging that makes them and media and fans think that he's day-to-day.
And in the end,
you're not day-to-day with this injury. You're 4 to 8 weeks with this injury.
In the end, we all agree that the Browns have botched this whole situation as an organization.
They have.
I just don't agree that Stefanski and Berry did it on purpose. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go that. Yeah. I think that's a bridge too far for me, too.
Only because I don't see how you see a benefit. I guess we'll find out, because if it goes south from here and they don't make the playoffs and those guys don't get fired, well, then maybe it did benefit them. But
Bull, if they were told from a doctor that looked at the MRI, and this is where I think everything came off the tracks early. And I can understand why it would be misdiagnosed. Perhaps there was swelling and they didn't see the micro tear. But the problem here is if they were operating under one set of facts, I could see why they would be putting both internal and external pressure on Deshaun to get out there because they've got a doctor telling them it ain't that bad. So I can see why they might be saying things, even subconsciously, to the media. Oh, yeah, we expect, in 10 days from now against San Francisco, we expect he's going to go. Because maybe that's what they were hearing from the doctor. And as we got further and further along, and then we finally, 2.5 weeks later, we hear the words micro tear.
Right.
And remember,
that took a long time for them to tell us that.
The first thing we heard, no structural damage.
That's right. So when players hear that, they know situations that they've been in. Hell, Joel Bitonio had surgery and was on the field less than 14 days after surgery.
That's another thing.
So you hear that stuff, and guys know, wait, no structural damage. Let's go, bro. This is the NFL. Get the hell out here. We
The
need
whole
you.
thing is very confusing.
It is. You're right.
It is-
And for that, we
Yeah.
can blame the Browns.
100%.
Because their messaging on this
100%.
has absolutely been way below average. Mikey's got to read.
I did not expect us to get into a conspiracy theory for the first 30 minutes, but G, I'm glad you bring it up. Sometimes the best topics come off the dome. We're going to move on to our next thing in 1 sec, but first, if everyone needs or ever needs emergency medical care, Jace Medical is the place to go. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, giving you peace of mind so you're not just hoping you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have that proper medication in hand, and it's simple. They handle everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation, so you don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at jacemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com. G, you alluded to it a second ago, but with P.J. Walker starting, the defense probably has to go into this game thinking they have to be damn near perfect to leave Seattle with a dub. And you said you've been in many situations like that before, and you kind of just alluded to it. But what is the defensive player's mindset going into a game against a tough opponent, knowing that you're playing without your real QB1?
It's all I explain it as a mix of emotions. You're angry, you're tired, you're depressed, you're irritable, and you don't like playing the game. And people say, well, why would you say all of that? Because, just to play the game of football and to play it at a high level, you have to play with a type of energy and effort that you don't care about getting hurt. That's the only thing that matters. You're gonna play through bumps and bruises. We just talked about with Joe Bitonio. He had surgery, came back, scoped his knee, came back because he feels he has to be out there. So when you're not playing with the best quarterback, or you playing with an offense that is hamstrung, you go back and watch any great defense. You could go back and look to the Eagles when they had Reggie White and those guys over there. You can go back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You go back for the '85 Bears. When you start to talk about the defense versus offense, it happens because the defense is so dominant that they are playing so above their heads that after a certain point in time, they're going to start looking at the offense like, hey, man, listen, y'all got to pull y'all's weight, man. We ain't asking for much. Give us some points, man. We just got you a turnover inside the 20-yard line. We kicking field goals on those. Y'all got to be able to punch that in. Hey, we gave you the ball back to be able to come back and do a whole, a drive under 2 minutes. And you guys are going 3 and out. So, for me, I played at OU, and one of the things that always got me is at the time we was playing triple option. And we were the last team besides Army and Navy. I think Air Force was still running the triple option at that time. And so basically we would be playing teams, and we had one of the best defenses, the best defense in the MAC, one of the best defenses at stopping and running the country. But the problem was when you run in triple option on 3rd and 7, like you just want to go up to the coach and be like, you get paid to do this. You do understand that this ain't working. Like you're running that out of ego. Because you can't tell me that you believe that this is going to work against that team. Yeah. You're running it so you could be able to say, hey, we're old school. We run the triple option here. No, that don't lead to nothing. We losing games. And so when you look at the Cleveland Browns, they gave you that effort against the Bengals and a great offense. They gave you that effort against the 49ers and a great offense. How many times can you keep asking them to give you that when they know what they got at quarterback?
It's taxing. It is, and you mentioned the 03 Bucks. I covered that team. I was with that team for 5 years leading up to it, and even though the year they won the Super Bowl, remember John Gruden came in that season, and what he did more than any other thing, aside from being a rah-rah cheerleader that the whole team rallied around, and it was short-lived. His star burned hot there and fast, but the one thing that was always evident during the 4 years I was there when Tony was there was an absolute conflict between the offense and the defense. You could hear it at practice.
Chirping.
The guys would yell, pick it up, score some damn points, keep us on the sidelines for more than 2 minutes. It was real. And I remember they had some pretty vocal guys, including Warren Sapp, on that defense.
Yeah.
And Warren was not one to hold his tongue, nor should he. They're playing, and the message was, boys, we're playing at a Super Bowl level here. You got to give us something. And then John Gruden came in. And John Gruden took that pretty bland and boring offense that was, 10, 12, 14 a game, and he's all of a sudden is throwing the ball all over the yard. He's got Brad Johnson looking like an all-world quarterback. The one thing Gruden could do was get a lot out of his quarterback. Hell, look what he did with Rich Gannon in Oakland. And he was at the end of the string then. And it was incredible to me how these two factions, offense and defense, within the same team, came together once everybody started pulling on the rope.
Yep.
The offense suddenly loved the defense loved the offense. It was kumbaya everywhere, except for Warren and Keyshawn. They never really mesh.
They still don't.
And they don't. And they're just two different personalities, and it's probably always going to be that way. But other than that, it meshed. And so I think the point is, and McNuggets, your question is a good one. They're not going to spill it over to the media because I don't think there's a character on the defense like the Bucs had with Warren.
Yeah.
John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Derek Brooks, they never aired any of that. But when you would talk to Warren, you could pick up things that he felt in between his comments. And just the way he said things, you're like, oh, he is not happy with the offense.
Well,
and it gets old.
Also, that defense had been was more proven than this defense.
Far more proven. They had been that good for 3 or 4 years.
For a number of years.
And that's
right.
all on Tony Dungy.
And
Tony
the
Dungy built that defense.
I was just looking at Brad Johnson's statistics. What's interesting about Brad Johnson, like I think back in that year, he had a great year, and he did. He went to the Pro Bowl. What's interesting is 4 years earlier, Washington, he had gone to a Pro Bowl also. I hadn't remembered that.
He did have his moments in his career.
But then the 2 years in between, the Washington Pro Bowl, he had his last year in Washington, then his first year in Tampa, and then the second year in Tampa when they won the Super Bowl, and he played great. Those 2 years in between, he threw a ton of picks.
A lot of interceptions.
And
I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was not turnover. In my mind, I don't remember him being very turnover prone
that year,
the year they won it.
6 interceptions.
And I credited that to Gruden.
The year before he had thrown 13. The year after, believe it or not, he threw 20 picks.
Wow.
But that year he threw 6. That was really the main difference. His completion percentage wasn't significantly different.
Right.
His yardage wasn't. It was just he wasn't turning the ball over.
Right.
He threw like 24 touchdowns, 6 picks. I mean, that's a winning combination with a great defense, and they had a great running game.
That's all they needed.
Also. But, right now, the Browns are hamstrung offensively, right?
Yeah.
But they found a way, but here's the thing about defense. This is interesting to me because I do believe the Browns' defense is excellent. But if I were trying to be contrarian and argue against the Browns' defense, this could be my argument. Burrow was hurt and the weather was terrible.
Yep.
Pittsburgh and Tennessee are awful offensive teams. 49ers, again, weather terrible, bad against the Ravens, bad against the Colts.
Yeah, but the 49ers to me is the outlier in there because the weather was
not
wasn't
as bad
ideal.
as Cincinnati.
I wouldn't call it terrible. There was weather, and I do think it really, really impacted Brock Purdy.
I just think this defense has more to prove.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's kind of like Miami. When you look
spot.
at Miami's offense, and we were saying all-time great, all-time great, all-time great, then they just got punched in the mouth by Philly.
And they didn't play well against Buffalo.
No, they gave a stat that I can't remember now. Maybe you can find it, Mike. Coming into that game, the Dolphins' victories were against teams that had like 6 wins and 25 losses.
They've played nobodies.
Yeah, it was okay, their offense is killing it, but they're doing it against Denver. They're doing it against teams that are not good football teams. Now they've played 2 good football teams. The Bills punched them in the mouth, and the Eagles did too.
Right. And the Browns have beaten 2 good teams.
The Browns' defense may be the defensive equivalent to the Dolphins.
Maybe now they've beaten the Bengals, they've beaten the Niners, who are good teams.
And you can't
and
take
the
that
Colts
away.
Are not terrible.
But against the Colts,
they didn't play great.
They didn't play great. They played well below average. Even by last year's standards, they looked like last year's
They got the turnovers,
defense to
so
me.
that part was great.
They did, and they had the splash plays.
Yeah. Some people would argue if you playing supreme devil's advocate or you just being a hater, they would say you take Myles Garrett off that defense, that's regular.
Well, it was on Sunday.
You better hope he never gets hurt.
Now I could argue that with most
superstar teams.
Yeah.
But
particularly an NFL defensive MVP caliber
here's
player.
The thing. When we talk about the all-time great defenses, whether it's the 85 Bears, whether it's the Giants of the 80s, whether it's the Baltimore Ravens, or whether it's the Buccaneers, all those teams had multiple Hall of Famers.
Yes.
They did.
Now, it's still early, but as of right now,
I see one.
Myles Garrett's the only guy on a Hall of. Is there anybody else on this team that's on a Hall of Fame track right now?
I would say this though. He's got to do it for a long time, and I'm concerned that he won't be able to because of the concussions. But Denzel Ward, if he could do this for 12 or 14 years, I don't see why not.
I don't think he's a Hall of Fame track.
Well, he's got to do it again. He's only been in the league for what?
I don't
this
think
is
he's
fifth year?
played at a Hall of Fame level consistently. He's played at a really good level, but not Hall of Fame.
I don't even think he's played at a all-pro level. I think he's
not consistently.
He's a Pro Bowler.
Well, last year he was inexplicably bad.
Yeah, I don't. There's nobody on this team that's a Hall of Famer or. I think if I had to bet today, is anybody on this defense going to be a Hall of Fame? I would bet on Myles Garrett, and that's probably it.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you guys,
and that's fair, Bull.
And maybe y'all answer this question in the chat too, because I got all these conspiracy theories and stuff. But there's one question that I come down to that just does not make sense, and I need a super sleuth or detective to get on this case. Why in the world does it seem like there is it's not even in the cards or a remote possibility to bring in another quarterback? I poked, I prodded.
I'm with you.
There's nothing.
Well,
it's void. It's empty space.
And if there was some kind of smoke, I think Adam would have heard about it.
Nothing.
And he was just like that. I don't expect that to happen.
Mary Kay, as I said, I had Mary Kay on the podcast. We actually recorded it last night. It'll be out later today. And she, like Jason wrote an article recently about trading for Jacoby Brissett. Mary Kay did the same thing last night. She wrote an article about trading for Jacoby Brissett. It seems to make the most sense of all the options out there. I think if you were going to sign Carson Wentz, and I'm getting to your point, if you were going to sign Carson Wentz or Nick Foles, that would have been something you did 4 weeks ago. Because now if you sign them, they're not ready to go. No. Those guys need some time. Yeah. Whereas Jacoby Brissett's he hasn't played in the game, but he's been ready as any other backup would be.
That goes to G's quote yesterday, leaders are decdecisive in times of need.
Exactly.
And they have been anything but that.
So to answer your question, like I said to her, it seems like they're not even considering it. And she said, yes, it does seem that way right now. I think they should, and I think they still might. She made the point like she doesn't think it's too late for them to change their mind. Now, we would all argue that this should have happened a while ago.
And guess what? The clock is ticking.
Yes, but we still take it. Better late than never.
You know, in baseball, Bull, the team that makes the trade deadline move in mid-July has beaten everyone to the punch.
That's a crazy.
Because what happens, and you know this, as you get closer and closer to the deadline, more and more teams have urgency, and they start ramping up their offers.
That's right.
So the buying price
goes up
on October 10th is probably going to be less than what it would be for that same player on October 30th.
100%. Right.
Strike. You know the need is there. You know the need is there.
And if you're talking about Jacoby Brissett, assuming that Washington's willing to trade him, now we don't know that. Maybe they don't want to trade him. Maybe they like having him around Sam Howell. We have no idea. But assuming...
Or maybe they value the fact that he's an insurance policy for Sam Howell.
Exactly.
Because we undervalued that.
Right, but we're looking at them as, well, they're out of it, so what do they care about that? If Washington's willing to trade Jacoby Brissett, why would the Browns not do it? Like, I can't think of a single reason not to do it.
That's what I'm asking.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of when everybody in football was saying, why aren't they using Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt at the same time? And it wasn't just us, and it wasn't just local fans. Yeah. You'd watch the games on local and say, man, they've got two horses. You think that maybe we'd see them together at the same time. And we never did. And the media kept asking, and they kept saying, no, we've got a package. But we'd watch and we'd be like, or there'd be this. They were on the field for 5 plays, and the average net on those 5 plays was 11 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it seems to be working. To me, it felt like they were saying, we're the Ivy Leaguers here. We know. You think you don't know, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't answer that either. It felt like stubborn digging in, and they never did it.
And it's, to me, I look at this game, and they know what they're up against going to Seattle like that. They know how Seattle's playing ball. My thing is, I hate to think that you're conceding games. Like, have you conceded the fact that it's an uphill battle and you got a 25-30% chances of winning? When you could have went out and got somebody and instead of being 4-3. You could be 5-2, looking forward to doing bigger and better things.
Boy, 5-2. What a difference.
With Arizona at
With
home.
Arizona coming up next at home.
That's why
you
I'm
could get to
anxious.
6-2. When you're 6-2, you're now in the conversation for home field.
advantage.
Right, yeah.
When you're 4-3, you're not.
Well,
That's tough to swallow.
There's really no great answer as to why. I would like that question to be asked to Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry spoke a couple of weeks ago. He's not talking right now, obviously.
No.
But I would love to know his answer. And I know they don't give you any straight answers or anything, but why would you not look to upgrade? There's no metric you could point to where where the Browns quarterbacks as a whole this year have not been the worst in football.
No, they're 32nd in overall quarterback play, no matter where you look.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
And so, based on that,
Yeah.
all the evidence is very obvious. What they have in that room is not enough.
Yeah.
Yet, people that cover this sport for a living and know and would know if there were talks at least underway are saying, yeah, we're not expecting to see that.
Jacoby Brissett played. Listen, I'm not a huge Jacoby guy. I don't know anybody that's a huge.
Better than
Jacoby
what
guy.
we have now.
But Jacoby Brissett in 11 games last year threw 6 picks, right? Isn't that the number?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Okay. P.J. Walker and DTR have thrown 6 picks in 3 games. And it really could have been like 8 or 9 between them, the way they've thrown the ball.
Yeah, you're right. It could have been more.
I mean, you can't. The fact that they.
Now, Jacoby played 11 games, didn't play the whole season, but still, 11 games to have only 6 picks.
11
You
versus
can live
3.
with this defense.
Yeah.
That's what drives me mad is we had decent backup quarterback play last year, but a terrible defense. And this year we've got a great defense and terrible backup quarterback play. Can't we get them together?
Right. And the way you won against Indianapolis is unsustainable. They won a game where the defense played poorly and the quarterback was awful. If I tell you your quarterback's going to be awful and your defense is going to be awful, you're going to lose 99 out of 100 times.
What the X factor was, it was one of the all-time great individual performances by one guy on the defense
and the
who
kicker.
saved the day. And the kicker.
The kicker and the defense.
Outside of that, that's an L. 98% of the time when you give up 38 points and your quarterback throws 3 interceptions, that's an L.
If the Browns, the reality is, as great as Myles Garrett played, if the Browns have had any kicker that they've had since Phil Dawson, besides this guy,
both those games are losses.
They're 2-4 right now.
You're right. Mikey?
Guys, Deshaun Watson is speaking to the media as we speak. So I'm going to do a read, and then I'm going to give you the early quotes, and we'll react. He was not supposed to speak. He is scheduled to speak, and actually is speaking right now despite not playing. But on Fridays, you guys know where we are from 1231. We're on WKYC TV. Join us for 30 minutes of brand new Seahawks and Browns preview content exclusively on Channel 3, so make sure you guys tap in and tune in tomorrow for that. Deshaun is speaking to the media as we speak. The first quote has come out. This is from Zach Jackson. I'm going to read this to you guys. And if you have it on tag board, you want to throw it up, you can. It's the one you just had up on your screen right there. Deshaun was asked, how's he doing? He said, quote, not that one, the one from Zach Jackson. You take it, Steve. Just rehabbing. I'll be back as soon as I possibly can. He was asked, did you rush it last week? He said, I don't know. Hope to play again as soon as possible. Just have to go through the process again. Get it as strong as possible. We will continue to search and dive through Twitter to find the most recent up-to-date quotes from Deshaun Watson here. But there's another one here coming from Zach. Hold on. We're going to get some live reaction here. But let's react to what Deshaun's saying. And you can take it,
He also
Steve.
said he may have rushed back. I'm sorry if you didn't say that. You said that, and I'm repeating.
Watson, why would I want to play? I just worked my ass off for 2 years to get back.
Says he may have rushed back. I wasn't 100% last week. I thought I was. I wasn't ready. Some more of the quotes. The concern was the shoulder from the jump. I didn't know about the concussion test until the second time in the medical tent. I wanted to go back in, but it was a team decision.
Was he ever in protocol, though?
He was not in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, because afterwards, Stefanski was pretty clear. He was cleared to play. It was my decision.
This from Tom Withers. Watson said he isn't sure if he suffered a setback by playing last week, but he did acknowledge it wasn't right.
Yeah, well, we could see that.
This is what I'm talking about here, man. Like when you say we talked about well, every player gets to decide that. No, they're not. Once again, the messaging is off. First and foremost, the coach needs to just come out and say, look, Deshaun Watson, we putting him on a 4-game. You know what? It's better for him to be sitting there 1 week completely healthy and not playing, so he knows exactly.
Err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
They should have done it
Which,
already.
by the way, guys, when we were saying what percentage does he have to be, I was steadfast on the 100% because
100.
that's what the surgeon was, that's what people were saying. If he rushes back with this injury, you have a higher likelihood of suffering a complete tear.
And a setback. Now he's had a setback.
Now the year's over.
Yeah, like
get him healthy for the second half of the season. Let's try to scrap our way through the next couple of games with defense and a run game and get him back healthy for the second half of the season. And that's when you want to be playing your best football anyhow.
You say, this is how easy this will be today. Stefanski comes out and say, listen, Deshaun's rehabbing. We're going to put him on IR for 4 games. What we're going to do?
You can't retro that because he played last week, right?
So he's.
There's no retro.
So if he goes,
I thought
not
there
like
was.
baseball,
he'll go on the IR for 4 games. We're going to set him there. We're going to also go out and look for another quarterback to come in here.
I'd be
and
happy
bolster-
with that.
and bolster the quarterback.
I'd be happy with that.
The tricky thing is, and whether you like this or not, it's the reality. The quarterbacks have a lot to say. I thought Joe Burrow should have gone. Watching him the first 4 weeks, like Joe Burrow finally looked healthy to me the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Watching him, I was like, they should have put him on IR to start the season.
Right.
He should have missed the 4 games. But Joe Burrow's like, I want to gut it out. So if the quarterback's saying, I want to gut it out and push through, yeah, there's part of you that's like, well, I'm the adult. I got to stop him. But these guys want to play, G. That factors in. Jay Gruden even said, I don't know if he said it to Mike off the air or whatever, he's like, man, if a quarterback wants to play, it's kind of hard to say no.
Well,
and it's not, let's not make that seem like the Browns are the only team that does it. Now, I agree they botched the situation, and I agree that they probably should have put him on IR. But a lot of teams fall to the pressure of the quarterback wanting to play even if he's not ready.
And a lot of those coaches end up getting replaced. When you're the head coach,
Stefanski might too.
If you're the coach, it's on you. I'm the leader. I'm the leader of the ship.
Yeah.
So if I feel like you hurting yourself or harming, it's just like being a parent. Like, so your kid may want to go to school. He may want to go because it's a field trip, but he's sick. And you're like, listen, nah, bro, you ain't been to school all week. You got a fever. I'm sorry, bud. You can't go.
Yeah, there does have to be an adult. And what makes this situation so tricky is it ended a quarterback who, prior to that point, the fan base and really the National Football League observers felt like, wow, the Browns finally got it right at quarterback. Mm-hmm. They finally got their guy. They win 11 games. They win a playoff game on the road against their biggest rival. They put the Kansas City Chiefs damn near on the brink of elimination. And you blink, and 3 games later, it all starts to come unraveled.
It click, flip. People flipped on you.
So,
locker room don't like it. You're losing games. All they had to do was put him. They could have put Baker on IR. They could have put this guy on IR. And by the way, why did they have the Browns went from having Case Keenum making the most money as a backup quarterback to Jacoby Brissett, who they loved and admired, and we felt he was a great locker room guy and people loved. And you stripped the importance of a backup quarterback and then moved all the way to a rookie
who had never played, clearly.
After this, Deshaun Watson has some different
when you're
things.
paying a quarterback, most of the teams that are paying starting quarterbacks a lot of money do not have a high-paid backup. That's the
true.
reality.
I mean,
now,
you can't.
Watson's being asked about the Brady Quinn stuff, and he's saying don't listen to it and stuff. I do have to be fair about something. I killed Baker for being having rabbit ears. And I got to be critical of Deshaun Watson a little bit.
I agree.
Well, you're going to bring up the quote. Let me just show it so everyone
Go
sees.
ahead.
I'm sure you're referring to the same thing. But he said, he sees everything. Why would anybody listen to that stuff if it ain't coming from me? All the other is BS. He also went on to say that the national media members don't know me, don't listen to anything they say about me.
Yeah, but the fact that he says he sees everything. I said it about Baker. I'll say it about any professional athlete. I'll say it about us. When you're in this situation, you cannot have thin skin and rabbit ears. You can't. Because if you go out and try to find what people are saying about you, the famous quote is, you can please some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can never please all of the people all of the time.
Right.
What the hell does Deshaun Watson care what anybody is saying about him?
Yeah, now he was asked specifically about Brady Quinn.
I
So
know,
I don't
but
care
he
about
said,
that
"I
part.
see
But he said, I see everything.
everything." Like,
plus, I just noticed yesterday he blocked me on Twitter. Like, what's he blocking me for?
How do you even know that?
Because I tried to. I was putting out I put out a tweet about Brady Quinn being a hypocrite, and I referenced the thing he said about Zach Wilson last year. And in it, I tagged
Deshaun.
I did tag Brady Quinn, I tagged Deshaun, and I tagged Quincy Avery. And when I tried to tag Deshaun, or when I had to, I couldn't remember what his Twitter handle was offhand.
Yeah.
So when I looked it up, it said I was blocked. And I was like, I mean, I haven't been very critical, but like, and I certainly have defended him in a lot of ways in terms of the off the field stuff. And like,
You've been a lot more of his supporter than I have. I don't know. Maybe I'm blocked too. I don't look.
Like this, where we start blocking people on Twitter and the media locally, that just seems so lame. And it means you're worried about that stuff too much.
I'd be okay with blocks, but when you respond to it, you enter the fray. You come down to their level. Like, I noticed, we talked about this on the show yesterday, Quincy, who is at Deshaun's level in his field.
Right.
The stable of guys that trust him with their career. This dude is accomplished. He's made it. What the hell does he care what Brady Quinn is saying about one of his guys? You know, when you respond to it, to me, you're feeding the troll.
That's true.
And you're inviting more of it. Because, by the way, when everybody else sees that you respond to one of the critics, they get their chest puffed up. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Hey, he blocked me. It's like a badge of honor. Or
yeah.
He responded to me. Like, when you do that,
right.
You tell all the other trolls, and there are millions, that even though you've got 25 followers, and even though I can't find your show on TV, internet, radio, or anywhere,
right?
Now you're saying to them, you matter because you respond
like
to them.
Bernie Kosar, you matter.
You matter. Like, for me, Deshaun needs to just literally, and I know that
and I didn't want to be. I'm not taking it as pride that he blocked me.
No, I know you're not. You're kind of flummoxed by the whole
I don't
thing.
understand.
If you're Deshaun Watson, here's your concern.
Yeah.
Number one is being a great football player. Number two is being a great football player. And all the way down through your top 10 concerns are being a great football player.
Yeah.
If you're spending energy and wasting time seeing everything, do you know how much time that has to take in a day if you search your own name?
I fight with fans sometimes. It's so stupid.
It makes
so dumb.
It never solves anything.
Last night I was like, and you know, I've been trying so hard not to put anything about politics at all on Twitter, because it just leads to aggravation. Last night I'm like to my wife, I want to tweet about the Speaker of the House. I want to tweet about the Speaker of the House. She's like, don't do it. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Listen to your wife. She knows
and
what
like,
she's
you're
talking
right.
about.
You're right.
Because, Bull, what's going to happen? Do you think that people on the other side are going to say, wow, you know what, Bull?
You're right.
I never thought about
There's
that.
no point.
You're right.
She's
You're
right.
not going to talk me out of being a diehard Browns fan. Yeah. I've had people try to do it. A lot of people. Yeah. And I'm like, wasting your time. You're like trying to convince me that my favorite color isn't my favorite color.
So me arguing with people is stupid.
Pointless.
If
and
it's
the same for
debate,
Deshaun.
if we're having a good, if I'm debating with a fan about a sports topic, that's fine.
And if when it devolves, and typically the first salvo, it's already gone.
Yeah.
When somebody sees one of your comments or tweets and says, "You're an idiot," like I am so done with
guys,
no.
Earl actually listened to Deshaun speak and like the whole thing.
Let's put him on.
Yeah, Earl, what do you think of Deshaun?
Yo, so just an overall summary of what his tone, he sounded like he was really frustrated with some of the questions that he was asked. Somebody asked him, there's been speculation that you might not even want to play for the.
It's like shit. You're like, no.
Yeah.
Everything, when you're in a great mood, everything tastes better.
Yeah.
All the jokes are funnier. Your highs are higher. I get it. I understand his frustration. This guy wants to be on the football field, particularly because, as we talked about, he's coming off his one good game. He wants to prove that this wasn't a fluke. This is now who I am. And he wants to prove that so badly, he was willing to go out there and try it when he knew he wasn't ready.
So when somebody asks you a dumbass question like that, and it's dumb, People hide behind the fact that they journalists and they need to ask it because the fans want to know. No, you want to know. You ain't asking that question on the behalf of fans. You have an autonomous notepad of what you want to write. If I'm a player and I went through all the allegations, I done went through off season. Yeah. Now I'm hurt. I come back.
Hi, how are you?
I hurt my.
We're good, Aditi. Thanks.
I hurt my arm again. Right. I have a setback. I should have been staying out chilling. And you asked me.
Yeah, now you're angry.
Some people say you don't even want to play in Cleveland. What kind of dumbass question is that?
And here's why it's really a dumb question.
Florio speculated about it in his article.
Yeah.
And that's why it got brought up.
But here's why it's really dumb. He's here. And he's not going anywhere. He's not tradable
right now.
Right.
There isn't a team in the NFL that would take on that contract right now. No one would.
But asking a question about, see, if you put the question as, and I don't know how the questions were asked, but if you put the question as, hey, there have been, when you ask, well, there's former players, including 2 former Browns, saying you should be on the field right now, what's your response to that? That's a reasonable question.
That would be fine.
That would be a reasonable question.
Sometimes you say, you can't ask this question. Are things good between you and the Browns?
Right.
Yeah. Here's what you ask. How would you characterize your relationship right now with the Browns?
Yeah.
Now you're going to get some he's got to create his own adverbs and adjectives, and he's got to put it together instead of saying yes, things are good. Put a pointed question to him. How would you characterize your relationship right now with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski? And you might be able to glean something out of the way he answers it. He might say things are fine. Okay, that's telling. But if he goes into genuinely saying, look, Kevin and I are very much on the same page here. I know you all want us to be on opposite sides of the fence here, but we are lockstep in sync with one another. Okay, now that tells me something too. But don't ask a question that's it's going to ruffle him up.
Yeah, asking him about why
you want to be here in Cleveland
Wednesday instead of Thursday, that's stupid. That's unnecessary.
You got to read and then Aditi, right?
We're going to bring Aditi in after we remind the people of the good world that FanDuel is the #1 sportsbook in America. It is not even a debate. It is FanDuel and no one else. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a simple $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, regardless of the outcome. And you can bet on anything from spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's literally no better time to get in on the action. I promise you it is so simple. Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season, the NBA season, the World Series. You can bet on hockey. If you can bet on it, you can find it on FanDuel. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, we welcome in our favorite sideline reporter in the world. It is Aditi Kinkubala.
Hi, Aditi.
Hi, how are you guys?
Do you know why they won't bring in another quarterback, Aditi?
I don't. But who do you want them to go and get right now?
Anybody.
P.J. Walker's not an NFL quarterback. You know that. I mean, he's not.
I mean, the guy's engineered 2 wins for you.
No, he hasn't. He's been along for the ride. He hasn't engineered them.
If you just watched his play in a vacuum, they didn't win.
Come on, has
game.
Kenny Pickett engineered wins for the Steelers? Come on, he's been along for the ride.
I mean, he has. There's a ball in the Hall of Fame, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the game-winning drive that he led against the Raiders last year.
Good for him. He still stinks.
I take Pickett right now.
Okay.
We take Pickett. Hey,
Why is a conversation about P.J. Walker immediately turned to
My
ripping
fault.
Kenny Pickett?
That's my bad.
You know Bull's got a thing.
You know it coming. You know
Kenny
it.
Pickett.
I mean, like, where was that line?
Fair
Where
enough.
was that
Even
connection?
Kenny Pickett, who is painfully mediocre on a good day, is way better than P.J. Walker, who's the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life, except for maybe Tim Tebow and Johnny Manziel. Now,
look, this is a team that already look,
Bull.
This is a team that already sacrificed so much for one quarterback. They're not going to mortgage the future again for another quarterback.
But you could trade a fourth-round pick for Jacoby
Brissett. The price of what's available.
Aditi, couldn't you trade a fourth-round pick for Andy Dalton or Jacoby Brissett? Those guys are way better than P.J. Walker. No?
I mean, that's a very fair point. I think that if Jacoby Brissett could be had, that would be a brilliant idea. But again, remember, Deshaun Watson is not on IR, so we don't know that Deshaun Watson isn't better next week when the Arizona Cardinals and Josh Dobbs or Kyler Murray come to town.
Aditi, let me ask you this question, and because you're around a lot of the other teams. The way the messaging has worked for this whole thing with Watson and being injured, Are other teams handling it the same way? It just seems like this is a little strange at the way that there's this not on IR, hurt, not hurt, structural, no structural. How are other teams handling things like this?
I think that you always have more scrutiny when it's your own team. And so it's very, very easy to sit here and pick at this is insane and crazy and wrong and how does this make sense? But if you'd go around the league and really, really, really get inside quite a few teams, there would be sort of the same thing. I mean, look, the Philadelphia Eagles are going through it right now with Jalen Hurts' knee. Is he hurt or is he not? Why has he never appeared on the injury report? But he was wearing a brace, and Jalen Hurts said that, yep, the knee was a thing, and Nick Sirianni said, yep, the knee was a thing, but why has he never been on an injury report? So to think that this only happens in Cleveland, I think is a little, I don't know. I don't want to call it small, but it doesn't only happen in Cleveland.
But you're right. Obviously you're right, but that's a huge difference. Jalen Hurts is playing not as well as last year, but he's still playing pretty well. They have totally botched this situation. Stefanski saying he was cleared after the Baltimore game when he didn't play made Watson look bad. Then 2 days later, Andrew Berry, the Wednesday of the bye week, says, he's going to play against San Francisco.
Okay, but let me cut you off. Deshaun cleared that up, right? Didn't he say that he didn't actually get the MRI until Saturday when the swelling went down, and so they didn't actually know what the nature of the injury was.
Don't say he's going to play.
Didn't actually know.
Right. Say we don't know. Say we don't know.
Look, this is why the whole Brady Quinn thing is sort of crazy, because if there's one thing you know about Deshaun Watson, if there's one piece of his history, it's how tough he is. I mean, the guy took a bus ride because he couldn't get on a plane to play in a game. So to sit here and question his toughness, I mean, you can question, why was he saying, I'm definitely going to play? Could he not have said, hey, I'm doing every single thing I possibly can to play, but I'm not 100% sure? Yeah, maybe, looking back, he should have probably framed it that way.
Aditi,
but there's no surprise. Okay, go ahead, Jay, sorry.
I just want to circle back on Bull's point, because we've talked about this a lot on the show. We feel that the temperature with the fan base and the media was set by these two things. Stefanski on Monday, after the injury happened in the Titans game.
And after the Saturday MRI.
Yes. Saying that he expects him to go. Now, on Wednesday, 10 days before the Niners game, the general manager said matter-of-factly he's going to play against San Francisco.
Stefanski, just to clarify, Stefanski didn't say we expect him to go. Stefanski said he was cleared to play this past weekend.
Yes, you're right. He talking about the previous game, saying
he said medically cleared, but just because you're medically cleared doesn't mean that you
why say it that way to make Watson look bad?
So that's where I'm going to, Didi, and I want your answer to this. What we've kind of alleged or come to the conclusion was that he wasn't provided cover by his coach and general manager, who in their comments to the media first said that he's cleared to play and decided not to. Yep. And then 2 days later, their general manager, again, very matter-of-factly said he's playing against San Francisco in 10 days. I think the cautious way to handle that, if you're not sure, because they clearly weren't sure because they were wrong, if you're not sure, you don't have to tell us everything. Many times they don't tell us.
You're not wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you.
And
there's
so
nothing
I think the rift here, and yesterday I called it InfoWars. I feel like I'm getting one set of information from the team and a different set of information from the player, and that's bad optics. What I'm saying is the team should have provided the player cover so he wouldn't have to take friendly fire from Hanford Dixon. So he wouldn't have to take fire from a former quarterback and media member and Browns fan in Brady Quinn questioning his toughness. The team did not do him any favors when they aired the wrong way. Just say, we don't know, it's week to week, we're going to continue to keep you updated as we find out information. Done. Don't say he's
Right.
going to play.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. That's a conversation that you should absolutely have with them. It's the whole old adage, right? It's under promise, over deliver.
Yes.
So, oh, wow, he's actually playing? That's a big, pleasant surprise, as opposed to expecting him to play and then saying, well, I mean, didn't Kevin Stefanski say this week that he thought that perhaps Watson would be able to go against Seattle? Didn't he say that on Monday?
Yes. He said that Sunday.
Or he said that he is our starting quarterback, right,
Well,
on Sunday.
so
to
to
sort of
clear
knock
it up-
down this idea that was
So,
he
yeah,
benched
so-
because of his performance.
Yeah, to clear it up, and this is in Stefanski's defense, he was answering a question that basically was asking of him, is he benched or is he your starter?
Right.
And in answering that question, he said, Deshaun's the starter. Of course he's the starter. He's making $230 million.
Right.
And P.J. Walker's the backup. That's a silly question. I think Stefanski realized later in the postgame news conference that he wanted to come back and clean that up a little bit, so he did. And he said, look, I mean, he's my starter provided that he's cleared and he's healthy. So
Right.
if you just listen to one of the sound bites, it can be pulled out of context. But to give it its total and full context, you have to look at it and look at both of those comments before you make any judgments.
Sure. I mean, it's really, really disappointing. Let's just leave it at that right now, because this defense is playing tremendously. They didn't actually play a perfectly clean 60 minutes this last week. Those penalties that led to free plays where they stopped playing twice, I lost my mind
It
over
led to
both
14
of those.
points.
But yes, but they're playing really, really well. They're still running the ball surprisingly well, considering having lost Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt, who going into that game, Kevin Stefanski told us he'll have maybe 5 snaps, and look at what he did instead. This is a team that is playing really well. Amari Cooper, I can go on and on. People that are giving the Browns everything that they have. It's really sad. It's really disappointing that the quarterback situation, for which they went out on such a monstrous financial limb, in addition to all the other limbs, is just not working right now.
Yeah. And that's
And
the thing.
all this other stuff is just kind of ancillary. You know, it's almost like chatter, let's turn, is this a scandal? Is this a scandal? Are they wrong about this? At the end of the day, it all boils down to the fact that this is a team that legitimately has championship potential. And I don't know that I've ever said that in 15 years of being around the Cleveland Browns. This is the team that legitimately has all the pieces, and yet the quarterback position is just not working right now, be it for health. Let's just call it for health.
Well, yeah, and as far as the defense, I think this is a big week for the defense, because the reality is they've been great at times, but they did not play great against Baltimore. They then played great against San Francisco, and then they didn't. Outside of Myles Garrett, they really didn't play well at all last week. He carried the defense.
Well, they came up with big plays. And, it's funny because we've been talking about this ad nauseum for years, I feel. And we've talked about it in the context of the Myles Garrett versus TJ Watt conversation. We've talked about it in terms of Myles Garrett being a DPOY. It's this idea of the game-changing play. And there are certain teams that drill turnovers, that everything they do is about takeaways. And there are other teams that sit here and say, no, it's more important to make the tackle, not give up the big play, and give the ball back to your offense. That we're not going to lose sight of what our actual job is while chasing the ball. And that's been the Browns. But this week, when they desperately needed those game-changing plays, I was standing next to Mike Annarella, who works for the Browns. He's in the Browns PR department. I was standing next to him on the sideline when the Colts were backed up in their own end zone, and the game was what the game was. And I turned to him and I said, right here, right now, a game-changing defense gets a touchdown. And what happened? Yeah. Myles Garrett forced a fumble and Tony Fields fell on it. You can call Mike and ask him. I called that touchdown right there. Yeah. But I said that that's what needs to happen. And so did they play the same 60 minutes that they did Monday night in Pittsburgh? No, but they did enough to win the game. And sometimes that's just as good. Actually, that really is just as because you got the W.
It'll be interesting this week because Seattle's a way better team, in my opinion, than Indianapolis. They've got a better quarterback. They've got just as good a running back, if not better. They've got better wide receivers. They got a good, solid defense. It's a pretty interesting team. This is a tough test for the Browns, and it's not sustainable to win the way they won last week. You can't win when the defense made game-changing plays, no doubt, but you can't win games where your quarterback stinks and and the other team's offense. What's his name? Who's the Colts quarterback? I forgot his name.
Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew looked great against them. So that can't happen again. If they're going to win, they got to play lights-out defense across the board.
Yes, and that's a very, very, very tough place to play.
It is.
Very tough, obviously. But I would say don't denigrate the Colts here. The Colts are a better team than even I thought going in with their numbers.
Agreed.
I mean, Shane Steichen has them playing really well. And I'll tell you from this point of view, when you stand on the sideline, you look if a team has ever lost sort of its mojo. Both sidelines, no change. As back and forth as that was, even when the Colts were down 11, there was no hanging of heads, there was no anxiety, no nervousness. Gardner Minshew's been here, done that. So we can sit here and you can say going out to Seattle is a tougher game than having gone out to Indianapolis. I will give you that, but don't denigrate the Colts. That's a good team right there.
No, I wasn't. They're pretty good. I just think Seattle.
And Jonathan Taylor was hot. Jonathan Taylor's pads were warmed up.
He was running
well. He is an elite running back.
Didi, there's a lot of people who said Kareem Hunt was washed. He was done. He was finished. He's not coming back. I thought he played well in his spurts. I think he needs to get back in game shape. But this is going to be a throwback game. Like Kareem Hunt, if you wanted your opportunity to prove yourself, we need to hang our hat on the running game. Kareem Hunt.
I'm telling you. Kareem wasn't supposed to play that much. He was totally iffy leading into the game. He was nursing that quad injury. And I'm not kidding. Kevin Stefanski told us in the production meeting the night before that he thinks Kareem Hunt is going to have about 5 snaps. And he said, we need to get Pierre Strong going because I don't think I'm going to have Kareem Hunt. And that is not, he got way, way, way more out of Kareem Hunt. That was most definitely a courageous Herculean effort by Kareem Hunt. And you hope that he's healthier this week. He looked the week before against San Francisco. He looked like the pads were warmed up. He was ready to go. He'd gotten all that quote unquote rust off and he was indeed in game shape. Yeah, so as long as he's healthy, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm worried about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love how hard he runs. Look, the game came down to one play. Mm-hmm. The Colts knew that the Browns were going to run it.
Yeah.
Everybody in the stadium knew that they were going to run it on that 4th down. And when they needed that longest yard, he was able to churn it out. And, I don't like the talk either that this guy's done. Jason says, look, he's on 3 wheels. He's done. I just don't see that. I don't. He still runs hard, and I'm actually what I want to see is a game where he is completely healthy, where he's the focal point of the offense because he's never been that here.
Well, but I want to see Pierre Strong too because I like what I've seen from him. So
I do too, and I think we will see Pierre Strong. A lot of them.
And I think that that's the nature of this run game, right? It's never only about one back. Even when Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb, you were still seeing a major dose of Kareem Hunt. So it was funny down at the goal line there. I mean, you want to run your best play. And so your best play is running Kareem Hunt. But they needed to take time off the clock, which is why 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, they're not running Kareem Hunt. And I'm like, wow, they're putting this on just the one chance to
That's
make
what it felt
happen.
like. Yeah, it did. It felt like they were all in on one run on 4th down, and that was it.
On 3rd down, I would have run him. I would have been like, this is our best play. Let's give it 2 shots.
And just hurry up, get back up, and try it again.
Yeah.
All right, Aditi, I know you got a hard 220 out. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Aditi.
Yeah, I thought that they might try something like that, a run on 3rd down, and then a quick get back up to the line of scrimmage, call both of those plays in the huddle, and try to run it twice, 3rd and 4th, but it didn't work out that way, but they got the win.
We're going to talk Cavs in 1 sec, but first, Jace Medical is the place you got to go if you ever need emergency antibiotics. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics in emergency use, giving you peace of mind in case of an emergency. It's not just a hope. It's a promise. That is the Jace promise, and Jace Medical also is simple to handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care, so don't get caught unprepared. You get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at jacemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com. We got Bernie Kosar in the house in 10 minutes, but before that, the Cavs started the season off with a dub, and Max Strus looked like the second coming of everything you could have hoped for and then some in his Cavalier debut.
Well, I loved it. He had 27 points. I think he hit 7 3-pointers, which is a debut record for a Cavalier. After the game was over, he did a post-game interview with Bally's, and you could sense that, and he was kind of kidding, but there was some seriousness to it. Obviously, the biggest shot of the game was made by Donovan Mitchell, the three, after he shook his defender. But he actually said, I was open on that play, too. I wanted the shot. And I was like, wow, okay. That's interesting. This is the new guy looking at Donovan taking the game-winning three and saying, for the record, I was open and I wanted that shot. That's interesting.
Cool. That's interesting.
My biggest takeaway was Evan Mobley, I know it's one game. You can't judge him. Did not make the jump.
Didn't look any different from last year.
Didn't look any different to me. He looked exactly like the same guy.
Did you feel the same
It's
way?
one game. He had 10 points. He wasn't assertive. He wasn't screaming for the ball. He just looked like Evan Mobley.
You know, it's so funny. I'm Duke knee-jerk, and I think that the whole world has their knees shaking right now, because here's what happens usually. Basketball is all about player comparisons. It's not like football, right? You could be put in a situation in football where, if you ain't got a quarterback and you're a receiver, you're just not going to be good, right?
Right.
If secondary, your defensive line sucks, you about to be victimized. And basketball is different. In basketball, you can see the impact of really good players today, right now, on it.
Yep.
And so when you look at what they wanted Evan Mobley to be, and what was foretold in the chronicles and the fairy tales, was that Evan Mobley was supposed to be somebody else, and that somebody else is Wemby. And when you start to see Wemby taking step-back jumpers, shooting threes, not blocking three-point shots, dunking on people.
Yeah, but Mobley wasn't supposed to be this guy.
Listen.
They weren't the same hype level.
No. Here's what I'm saying, though. Like what happens is, if you get one person with the same body type that has that potential, when they call you a unicorn, there's only a certain amount of unicorns. And there's levels to unicorns, but Evan Mobley was called a unicorn.
By who?
Everybody.
But he wasn't the first. But nobody was talking about him like
There are different categories. Plus, Wemby's a lot bigger.
Here's the thing. What I'm saying is, yes, they're in different categories.
Yeah.
But when you see somebody with the skill set that you want him to develop in that has it now, you end up having reactions like, I didn't see him.
Yeah, I'm never expecting him to be Wemby, ever.
Do you think, are you saying the same thing as Jay, that based on one game?
Oh, no.
I don't mean based on one game.
No.
I parsed it by saying, look, I know it's only one game, but he looked like Mobley to me.
In a long story, I was saying the same thing y'all was.
Okay.
What happened is you're expecting to see, okay, he's on the perimeter. He's hitting the corner three. Maybe he's initiating the offense somewhere, right? I just turned the game on and was like, okay, let me just see how they're moving. And it looks like they're playing him at the same position. They're running no plays for him.
I just didn't see anything different.
It's just what he was last
And after
year.
Brad was in yesterday, I kind of had hopes, because the franchise knows what it is, too. The franchise knows they need this guy to be that guy.
And Brad said,
if he's not, they're never going to be a
They
championship
will never
team.
have championship potential if he doesn't get dramatically more involved and improve his game.
And you know what was the most disappointing yesterday? Was there was no Jared Allen.
I know. So
he
had
was
more
the big
space
guy.
to operate. Right.
Well,
exactly.
I think we need to bring in the king of the Mobley Kool-Aid, Earl. Earl, we got to bring you in here for a second.
What did you
because
think about Evan
Earl
Mobley's performance
yesterday?
yesterday?
It was
Earl,
underwhelming.
you were out of pocket yesterday.
It was underwhelming. I thought that I feel like this is going to be the unicorn year. I said that I feel like this is going to be the year that instead of taking steps forward, this would be the year that Evan Mobley takes a leap forward. I thought yesterday was an opportunity for him to do that without Jared Allen being there, and he didn't show up. It was times that I felt like he disappeared through the game.
agree.
Did he even score in the second half?
I think he might have had
2 points.
Yeah. He did. Honestly, it's a good question because he was kind of invisible. Now, I know that for me, my big takeaway was Strus is that guy. He can shoot the hell out of this thing.
Right.
Now, here's what I'm most disappointed in. And I couldn't understand it. As I'm watching, I'm like, I don't remember Cam Thomas. I think he's in his second year. I'm like, this dude off the bench, what did he score, 35 points?
36. It's an NBA record. He's done that for 2.5 years now for the Nets.
No, what was he last year?
Well, he doesn't play a lot because he plays no defense and doesn't pass. But
I know,
anytime
but
he comes in, he scores.
Actually,
What did he average per game last year?
I mean, he had 3 games where he had 40 in a row.
No, I know he's like a microwave and he can go off, but we had no answer for this dude.
No.
That surprised me because we're supposed to be a team that is our vertebrae is defense.
He averaged 10 points per game, 10.6 points per game in
that's
16.6 minutes. He was the highest point per minute scorer in the NBA.
He's like a microwave. You bring him
Yeah.
in, you get immediate offense, but he was there the whole game and he was doing it. It was his bad shot that cost him the game.
Yeah, it was a
that
terrible shot.
fadeaway off-balance 3 at the end that missed. I thought he could have got a better shot than that, but what really struggled, what'd they take? It was over 43s.
Cam Thomas yesterday?
No, the Cavs yesterday. They shot more than 43 pointers yesterday.
Oh, they shot, it was a very different offensive philosophy.
What was the number? 45, 43?
For the game, the Cavs were 17 of 43 from 3 at a 40% clip, which is pretty damn good.
It's a great clip, but I don't think this team should be a 43 points a game team.
They've been working that. That's
too much, G.
They've been working that.
You got to be a 3-point shooter.
I know you've got to be, but what was the average last year?
It's also one game. We can't read too much,
I know, but they were chucking them up. It was just it seemed like every trip down the floor. 3.
Aren't the Nets supposed? I could be wrong about this.
Nets aren't supposed to be good this year.
No, they're
Aren't the
not.
Nets supposed to be a bad defensive team?
Yes.
This is
Okay,
supposed
so
to be a
maybe
bad
that
team.
was
We
a big
should
part of
have.
it.
We were up. I think we were up 10 in the third quarter, and then in a blink, we're down 6.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that and I was expecting, we had Brad on, and once again, they won the game. I think the part of it that we're watching for, and most Cavs fans are looking at, is not necessarily the wins and losses so much. It's about the growth and development.
Yeah,
of
how they fit together.
How it fits and how are you playing. And yeah, they hit a lot of threes, but one of the things that I did see, and I was waiting for Brad to say it, when you asked him, hey, Mobley, he goes to practice, seeing these guys, he knows all the guys. Is he on that next level now? And Brad was non-committal.
All he gave us was he's gained 8 pounds of muscle.
He's gained 8 pounds.
And I wanted to see, he added 2 new moves in the low post. He's worked on his mid-range jumper. He's even working on his 3. He didn't say any of that. So we kind of had to read between the lines and be like, oh, it's going to be the same guy, and he was.
And what I mean when I compare him to Wemby, I don't compare him to like obviously he's not like, that's just God-given ability that Wemby has. That he just doesn't have.
He only had 15 last night.
He only had 15,
but
right?
he got hot late.
So the thought process is here.
And that was his first NBA game.
No, I know it was. I know.
The thought process is Evan Mobley doesn't have to be at that level of raw skills, but what he does need to do is, if it's nothing but saying I can knock down a 15 to 17-foot jumper like a Patrick Ewing or a LaMarcus Aldridge or a Vin Baker or a Rasheed Wallace, if you just add that,
we'll take it.
We'll take. Or he said, "Listen, I'm a good passing big man. I'm not gonna say you're gonna pass as well as Joker or Chris Webber, but I can facilitate from the high post.
Right.
If you just give me one of them, but with his defense, he's on that next level right now.
Yeah, his defense is hell. What was he? Finished second in the defensive player of the year. So I do think that what needs to be pointed out is they made the plays at the end. They needed to really. Yes. Donovan Mitchell did. He had a pickpocket dunk and the big 3 of the game that gave the lead. So he was who we want him to be.
Let me ask a quick question before we wrap this up to the guys who know basketball better than I do. Is it possible that Max Strus, it's a ridiculous question to ask after one game, but is it possible this guy could end up having a Lauri Markkanen type of season where the guy was a good player and then he went to a new spot and he became an all-star caliber player? Possible or impossible?
Yeah, I don't think he's nearly as talented as Markkanen, but he is in the perfect position here. And I've said this all throughout the offseason. They overpaid for him, but they overpaid in the sense that they had to get the perfect guy in to fit their system. He is a prototypical plug-and-play 3-and-D guy. And when you have Garland and when you have Mitchell, 2 guys who force the defense, especially in a pick-and-roll situation, to make a decision, help and allow a layup, or help and allow an open 3 in the corner, or don't help and allow a layup, you put the defense in a very, very difficult decision. Right. And Strus and even Niang, who didn't make a 3 yesterday, are elite at making shots off a straight pass.
Which is exactly what they needed.
Which is what they needed.
So,
So, Bull, to your sense, could he perform at an all-star level? He's not going to make 7 threes a game. That's not realistic.
No.
But
Nor will he
is
score
the
27.
He is the perfect fit for this offense. And Niang also a perfect fit in how, in my opinion, this offense should be run.
Right. All right, let's
And
do some
Okoro
super
played
chats.
well yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
Good defense. Good defense.
Super chats and then
We're going to
Bernie's
do
here.
some super chats. Bernie, if you want to go over, we'll get you in here, and we're going to read some super chats. Whenever we read super chats, they're brought to us by our dear friends at PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils at Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We've got to get through a couple of these, and we will speak with the one and only Bernie Kosar. First from M. Vine says, Jimmy Haslam has the final say and does not get a pass in any of this. Peter R. says, the show is above spreading conspiracy theories. Oshi Bisher says, if P.J. Walker goes out and wins in Seattle, are you feeling better about the decision to keep him as the starter? Or is it still a huge mistake? We can address that after the game on Sunday. Young Majestic 3300 says, the media is making way too much out of this. Can it just be they are confident Deshaun will be back in a few weeks? M. Vine says, I think both the Browns and Deshaun were misled by the original diagnosis. Even though he thought he could play, everything snowballed from that. M. Vine says, no QB, ask Haslam. Ray Smith says, the 85 Bears have 3 defensive Hall of Famers. That's not half the defense. It takes 11 to be great. We can stop with that argument against the Browns. Ohio Hawk says, since when do we hold the head coach and GM to the same press conference standards as the president? Are people not allowed to be wrong? That's a nothing burger. Darryl says, on to Seattle, go Cavs. James Cosby says, could this bring the team together? Michael Ribovich says, there's a much simpler explanation than the conspiracy theory. If you ever worked at a company with terrible communication, you know stuff you can never imagine, like this happens all the time. And then last but not least, Ohio Hawks sent it again. It's a giant nothing burger. So thank you for your super chats. And with that, let's welcome in the one, the only, Bernie Kosar.
Bernie!
Mr. Famous.
We
You got the internet on fire, Bernie.
Bro, Taylor Swift. We want the story. We need the whole story. Start from the beginning.
Oh, it's amazing when you come in at 4-2 and we're in Browns land that we could be a Swiftie here, and it does not even matter that Deshaun's shoulder is bothering him.
No, that's old news, man. We got to hear how did this happen?
Well, you know what? We love Cleveland Heights. We love the Kelsey family and stuff, and it's amazing what Jason and Travis have done in their careers. But it's also what Travis is doing in Kansas City. He has an amazing charity called Operation Breakthrough and that. So what he does in Kansas City with Operation Breakthrough, I've been doing things in Cleveland with the U.S. Marshals, with Operation Safety Net, finding abused and trafficked kids through the East Cleveland area in particular. Travis Kelsey and the Kelsey family have taken it to an awesome new level with Operation Breakthrough in Kansas City, where they're helping underprivileged kids and families with daycare. And with the daycare, they're teaching so many life skills from digital marketing, from 3D imaging, from robotics, from technology, things that bluntly, I know me and Bull maybe a little challenge that some of the
throw me in that too.
Well, it's trying to be nice here on that. So to be there helping them, and then a lot of what I do with my health and wellness now with Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey, talking about to them and their boys about some of my health and wellness stuff. So being there and being in town, and Taylor was there visiting her boyfriend.
Where is this party? Is that at his house?
So what's super amazing about that, and again, it's out of respect. I don't want to overly talk about stuff like that.
Sure, that's fair.
But I will go back to when I played football. Okay, and this is answering your question. Okay?
Yeah.
So when I played football before a game, the night before a game in particular, locked away at a hotel, being able to day before a game, day of the game, what you do for pregame meal. The team has you locked up and stuff. The newer age guys and Andy Reid, he's a little more relaxed with some of his rules and stuff. So
wow.
Travis was so spectacularly awesome. You know, he hurt his ankle 4 or 5 weeks ago. I have some ankle issues. I obsess on my Matter health and wellness. So some of the things to, you know, I try to talk and pay attention to, but that was before the game. Like literally for them, for Travis to kind of have us at the house.
So they stay at the players?
No, they stay away and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Being able
so
to
he
go
hosted a party.
No, it wasn't a party. No,
it wasn't.
It was just getting ready to get to the game.
Wow.
And I got to say, again, it's not to be talking about that, and in particular to try to be cool or to try to promote something, but I've been called by so many old men, okay,
sure,
about how now it's cool that their daughters or their granddaughters are. And if I could say something about Taylor Swift, well, we know the Kelseys are spectacular.
They are.
But how she is as a person, I mean, she's even more genuine and giving and back as a genuine person.
Yeah.
It was a super honor to be a part of that.
Was she rooting for the Browns?
I know my place. I know my place and focus.
Now you know they had Bernie had to sign that NDA in blood. There was like, you listen. Matter of fact, Secret Service outside. Don't you got 5 more words,
Yeah,
Bernie?
that's right.
No, I mean that picture you had in the background. If you really look close at it, that was the Browns game. I mean the Browns are the 1 o'clock game.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are playing the 4:25 game. That was right. That was bluntly right around with the mortified of the Deshaun issue early in the game
when he was throwing interceptions and incompletions.
Well, and then what we talked about, unfortunately, last week.
It all came true.
You know, when you practice, you could structure your practice. You could structure how you play. You could know the camera's right there. I could look right into it. I could step into it. But in the game, you know, you get out of whack and you don't have your arm and body in perfect positions. And that was it, right in and around when, again, I don't want to hug you, Bull, but he's running left, and then, you know, we're looking and we're going to throw the sideline, or we're going to throw it away towards the camera here. But instead, you want to look back and you want to throw it across your body. And for young quarterbacks, you're not really supposed to. And with a micro tear of the rotator cuff, it makes it exponentially more challenging. And when we talked about the involuntary muscle twitches last week, that's absolutely when that happens, and it's not his fault. That just happens, and he saw the 70% velocity on that ball that couldn't get over the guy's head.
So Bernie, why don't they just put him on the IR and give him another month off?
Well, again, maybe if history left onto itself, if we knew what we knew today 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe we would have done that. Again, I'm not.
But they went through this with Baker.
But the Baker thing in each case is itself, and I'm not trying to absolve the Browns, but like we talked about last week's show, the inflammation at first probably, we now know it's a micro tear, which
we didn't know at first.
Okay, and that's not blaming any of the docs. It's not blaming Deshaun or the Browns, because with massive inflammation, to find a micro tear
can be difficult,
massively challenging. So that could take a few days to a week or so, and then you don't make that decision to turn it down. So, should
they be getting a quarterback now, though? I mean, it seems now like, Bernie, I'm at least looking at it like this is maybe 3 or 4 more weeks.
It's for sure. In my mind, not knowing, I do not have inside information on this. But
okay,
so
why
looking at it, I concur.
Why aren't they bringing in another quarterback? Because DJ Walker, that's not sustainable. I mean, the fact that they got 2 wins over the Colts and over the 49ers with this level of quarterback play, is a miracle. It's a gift from the football gods, but we can't expect it to keep coming.
Let's just say, as we're sitting here today in a little bit of disarray and stuff, from the football gods, we have been massively challenged by the football gods this century.
They owe us.
In terms of bad breaks. The football gods loved us
the
last 2 weeks.
But we can't expect that that's going to continue.
No, but we could be having this situation sitting here at 2-4.
Absolutely.
And having a quarterback issue.
So
we're sitting here at 4-2.
But you know that we need a different quarterback.
So you've asked a question, okay, of that. So we're fortunate to be 4-2. The football gods love us so much the last 2 weeks to get 2 miracle wins that we maybe shouldn't have had, but we got them. So that's all that matters. Okay, so to this week to play Seattle. P.J. Walker's the quarterback, and I love the Browns announced it yesterday, and he's the quarterback.
Yeah.
You can only deal with today and this week. So from the Browns' perspective and P.J. Walker's confidence, self-esteem, and even though NFL quarterbacks are supposed to have massive confidence, this "you matter" is here for a reason. Self-confidence and self-esteem is lacking on all of us. Yeah. And we want P.J. Walker to have as much as possible this week to pull out, hopefully, the football gods, another miracle win to be 5-2 somehow, some way. But,
I don't like that as a plan, though.
But ultimately,
I don't like that as a plan.
But ultimately, it's the trade deadline is Tuesday.
Should they
Halloween.
make a move, do you think? Jacoby Brissett?
Should they be telling us today before that? No, they should not be. They should be doing exactly what they're doing. I love it because P.J. Walker must have confidence. The team must believe that P.J. Walker could do that. But yes, administratively, you are manning the phone lines. You are digging in for another potential veteran quarterback.
You think that is going on, despite the fact there's no whispers of it?
You have to look at that.
I like that,
yes.
Bernie. If that's true, I love that.
That's what
because you don't want to telegraph to everybody that you're in the market.
Do you
it
think
raises
Brissett,
the price.
Do you think Brissett is the right guy of the veterans that are available?
So I've had such a chaotic last week that my level of detail down to that is he's not the wrong guy because obviously he knows the system and he's been here. To say he's the only guy, I'm not paying attention that much to NFL football.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Bernie, let me ask you this because I think you could shed some light on this, and it's a big picture. You know Deshaun on a more personal level than other people know, and you've also been a part of the quarterback fraternity, dating back to Jim Kelly and Dan Marino, and you've seen and I respect what you think about the game. You know, because the messaging has been off a little bit, there is a segment of the media and a segment of the fan base that seem to be thinking that Deshaun Watson may not be as hurt as he is.
Brady Quinn flat out said it. Brady Quinn flat out said.
So what
he doesn't want to play.
So the question is, from your perspective, you've played hurt. You know how many other quarterbacks have played hurt, and for me, I try to tell people, hey, no quarterback, especially the quarterback, they are wired different, right? They feel the responsibility of the entire team. In your, I guess, to be more concise, in your viewpoint, how often would you say quarterbacks shy away from playing because of injury?
So I don't think that much the starting guy, the guy who's the man on the team, shies away from it that much in a macro sense. And just flat out from a specific stance of Deshaun Watson, okay, I'm not his marketing guy. I'm not even sure if I'm his friend, because the friends you got to talk to all the time. So I'm not even saying that. So, and we know that some of my history is with the Browns and stuff. So if I wanted to give digs and be humorous, that's all teed up perfect for me to do that. Okay. All right. So that being said, like, I feel terrible for Deshaun right now. And I know people, he's got $250 million. He's got $200 million. Look, I was that guy. Did not matter how much I got. I hated not being able to play. So I would try to go play. And the people who say Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play because he's hurt, doesn't want to play because it's pain, that's wrong.
Are you surprised Brady Quinn said that?
Well, I'm just surprised because, look, I'm limited in knowledge sometimes. He's not here, so he doesn't maybe know. And then we got that scub tool, whatever those words are that I can't pronounce now, on a muscle tear. It's a micro tear. It's a micro tear. It's not getting better. So Deshaun's problem is whether he even waits 3 or 4 weeks, Jay, when he comes back, they're going to jam him into the ground, and it'll probably still become a rotator cuff surgery that is a full rotator in December and January that would inhibit him being ready in August of next year. So it's not about his pain. It's not about him not wanting to play. You could see he wanted to play. I could see, actually, me and him talking the coaches into him, saying, hey, I'm capable of playing. I can make the plays. but flat out, when P.J. Walker in the fourth quarter had to hit that fade on 2nd and 10 and drop it over the corner head before the safety killed him, P.J. Walker's 100% arm was barely strong enough to make that throw that helped the Browns win the game.
Yeah.
When Deshaun was rolling left, it wasn't because he wasn't tough. It wasn't because he was turning it down. His shoulder involuntary switched and turned it down and didn't allow him to execute the throw.
That
And it
is the
wasn't
thing that
even
you talk
painful.
about, that involuntary shutdown.
It's shut
the
it
muscle
down.
knows that
Yeah.
if you exert, you're going to have extreme pain.
Right.
So
and you
essentially they
can't
have
get
no
it.
chance.
And it's shut down, so he has no chance.
No
That's the-
chance for him to be
Exactly.
100% this year. That's out the window.
Correct.
Right? I mean,
and
that's
if it's again, I haven't seen the MRI, but if it is a micro tear, it's not guaranteed that heals in 6 to 8 weeks. That's not a guarantee.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, we could chill for 6 weeks. That may not be
You know what
healed.
almost guarantees that it doesn't heal is use. We looked
Oh,
up
for
on
sure.
the AMA's official website for these kind of injuries. It specifically said, does it require surgery? And it said, not in all cases, but if you're doing overhead, arm movements,
God,
lifting,
yes.
or throwing anything, it will not heal.
Well, Watson described it as a baseball injury, a more typical baseball injury. So baseball players are not taking hits on the field.
Well,
No.
and again, we want to be positive and
Yeah.
stuff. We want to think that the most optimistic thing's going to happen. But to see him using it, and again, this is one of my least favorite phrases. Doctors, teams, you say, well, you can't do any more further damage. That's wrong here. And I'm not saying the doc said it. I'm not saying the Browns said it. That's actually probably why there's uncertainty in the communication right now. Because in a micro tear, you can and you will probably do
We've had
more
several
damage.
surgeons tell us specifically that you
if
can.
it's if we want to pretend it's not a micro tear and it's a muscle, okay, then that could heal. That will heal probably in 6 weeks or so. But a week or 10 days ago, it was a micro tear, and 2 days ago, it was a muscle thing that I can't pronounce all those consonants.
It's crazy how it's gone.
The bottom line is the Browns have to make a move for another quarterback because it feels like Deshaun Watson, whether they try to play him or not, is not really going to be able to help the team win this year. That's the way it seems based on what you're saying.
I'm concerned for him as a Q. I'm concerned for the team, and it's not. And again, fans, it's not his lack of toughness. He's tough. This is a deep injury that forced me into retirement.
Damn.
And he's too young to do that. And to come out late now and then again have a January full rotator, that's still on the table, and that's part where everybody's got to play into thinking about
when
that.
we had Tim Couch on the show, he also mentioned that he had 2 complete tears. Of the rotator
Tim's
cuff.
shoulders, God bless.
And I know.
That's as tough a guy as we know. God, I'll get tears in my eyes. I love him so much.
He is tough.
And a lot of his career, because just like the bake thing, Tim even more so. God, in his career, he always went out there. He always dialed it up. And Tim Couch's arm, with an involuntary twitch at 90% was better than most, and he kept going until it, crushed it. And
He said when he was in Green Bay, he couldn't throw 10
get
yards
the out. He
without
couldn't get
pain.
the out,
Yeah,
but
right.
he was
Just a
out
simple
there.
out.
Yeah.
And
Why don't the teams stop the players from doing that?
Okay, so a lot of times I say the joke, we got to be protected from ourselves.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if I lied any more in my life than I was when you're trying to play football to get out onto the football field.
Right.
I just wanted to be out there. There was nothing more. That's partly why I do so much of this wellness stuff because you dealt with issues that you shouldn't have put yourself through. So, if I told my coach I'm feeling good and I'm going to be better, they trust you.
But if Deshaun, the way Deshaun threw the ball, it was clear he wasn't right off the bat. So, didn't they see that in practice?
Yeah, to me, I would super be watching practice.
Yeah.
I know I could talk my coaches through this and BS my way. So saying, oh, I'm saving it. Oh, I got 20% more. That was just 80. But at the patent goes at 11 o'clock on Sunday, and then the individual drills, you really need to say, "Hey, come on, dude!" But show me your sauce. Show me your sauce.
Yeah, right. You got to see it because we're gonna.
Come on,
you don't want to see it in the game.
Yeah, because in 90 minutes the bullets are flying, and I got to know you got to lob that fade down there in the box, 25 yards.
Let's try to. Well, I guess to your point, Bull. I guess it's a little easier said than done. I kind of compare it to, everybody being addicts trying to help each other get off, right? Because Bernie wants to play because he's a competitor and he's trying to win games. The coach is a competitor. He wants to win and win games. The defense is competitive. So when
everybody wants the guy to play.
Everybody is kind of this circular thing, and nobody else is standing outside of the circle saying, all right, no. Listen, I guess you want to win games, but we got to have you sit down, Bernie.
Right.
We can't have you playing. Your career,
especially if you can't play at a winning level, and then,
Right, and then people say, "Well, shoot it up like I shot it up. Shoot up a cortisone and numb it and stuff." Okay, don't do cortisone. I have better stuff than that. That's actually legal and healthy. Okay, follow me on that. But the involuntary twitch takes over. So even if you feel healthy, you're still going to miss, and arm's going to shut down a half dozen of those throws. That throw that we saw Deshaun trying to make, okay, he's not making that anymore this football season, even if he comes back.
You don't think?
Somehow he can't put himself in that spot. That will amplify, and that puts a complete isolation on the rotator cuff. Running this way, trying to throw back at the other camera. I mean, it hurts me.
It probably hurts just doing that.
I'm hurt, and I'm trying to pretend I'm cool. I don't want to win, so I'm
trying to put some mustard on it.
Right, and put sauce on it to where an NFL DB can't close.
Yeah.
Well, this is So listen, hey, the bottom line is Bernie's right. We've been this whole show in a way has felt like a funeral, but the truth is the Browns are 4-2.
Yeah.
And even though the way they won specifically last week is not sustainable, the defense is going to have to carry the team, and they are going to have to get better quarterback play. And it seems to, I think we're all in agreement that the only way to get better quarterback play is from outside.
Well, and that's the issue, and I know Bernie makes a good point. Look, we're not supposed to know if they're working a trade behind the scenes.
Sure, that's right,
so
that's true.
If they suddenly make one, that's good, but I would also make this point. Just because the trade deadline is next Tuesday, that doesn't mean you have to wait until then to make a move. They've had a need at quarterback for 5 weeks now, since the Tennessee game was over.
Hey, I think, seriously, at whatever time we were making fun of me on the Taylor Swift picture, okay, and Deshaun was 5 or 10 minutes from
we're not making fun of you, we're envious.
Well, from that point when we saw Deshaun in this position, okay, and the ball go at 70%, the whole organization was looking for another quarterback down the road. That's so it doesn't necessarily mean they're waiting till next year. We all know.
I'm gonna. You know what?
I like that.
I put my mind at ease.
That's a good theory.
We all think they have to be doing that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
all right.
He's like, he ain't gonna tell you that. And I like the fact that you said it. You need PJ Walker to have to look over his shoulder, have confidence, maybe play well. You go to 5-2. That's house money, and now you get a quarterback. I like that. That's why you a pro.
Yeah. And it could happen over the weekend. I mean, they're trying people. Look at if we have somebody locked in and they know they're going to part with them, we don't want them playing on Sunday for another team.
That's right.
I mean, but the NFL guys, we're good at compartmentalize. Let us guys deal with it at the moment. They don't need to hypothesize like we are right now.
Okay, so Bernie,
especially your Q, who for the first time knows on Wednesday he's the quarterback. PJ knows.
So here's where I am now, okay?
Okay.
I'm relaxed. I'm chilled. Bernie's told me they're professionals. Trust me, they're on it. If they don't do anything now, I'm going to be even more angry. Because Bernie's saying they're professionals.
They've
been on this since the interception.
Let's go.
So
let's do it.
We'll cut you guys slack until Tuesday.
I actually think they've been on it before the interception. I think the interception was not just the interception, the line, just the realization that you got to get in uncomfortable positions. That was the defining line in the sand,
right?
To where they
So they're probably already leaning that way, but once they saw that, they're like, we need someone now.
If you had them in a quiet room, I bet you they would agree with you.
Yeah, with truth serum.
With agree
They
with
would
you.
have to. They would have to. It's not sustainable to keep winning with P.J. Walker. They've been very lucky.
Well, and that
to do so.
and that again the glass is half full.
Yeah, therefore too. That's right.
I actually I've been visualizing my inability to jump over the table and block Jay's notes like Myles Garrett did. Like that athleticism that we're showing, that belief. So
how about the kicker?
I'm like, and special teams.
Yeah.
With a 58-yard field goal, in some way, done the right way, you could try to galvanize the team to be able to weather this storm.
Hey, listen, I think Stefanski's done a really good job of that because going into the San Francisco game felt like a funeral here. They came out and played their best game of the year. When things were falling around them in Indianapolis, it felt like, well, this is an L. I mean, their offense is getting boat raced here by, Uncle Rico. And then what do you know? The team never gave up. Stefanski had them galvanized as one force. They made all the plays that they needed to at the right time, including the late throw, including the 1-yard run at the end. Let's give Stefanski his due on that, because a lesser coach might have lost the team in both of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been super positive towards Coach Kevin and have gotten some flack in some other spaces in my life and stuff.
Sure.
And again, like Deshaun, I'm not his marketing rep, but to also have kind of the courage to not put Deshaun back in the Indy game.
Yeah,
and
that's
just kind of
crazy.
ride
Yeah.
and to ride it out without him playing if he was cleared to go back in and he made that decision. And then, Bulls, kind of to your point, he probably saw tendencies of that in the pregame warm-ups, that Sauce wasn't there. Again, can't blame him. I was not right, young kids. I was not right in my ways I spoke sometimes to my head coaches when I decided that I wanted to play. So I did not make it.
Ultimately, was it always your call, though?
If you didn't let him touch your shoulder, like if you didn't let him see the issue, when I broke my ankle on Monday Night TV, they didn't get a chance to look at it.
Right.
So they just didn't see it.
Back then, Bernie was going on straight HIPAA.
There was
touch
no,
my body. You don't know it. It's my body.
There was no independent neurologist in those days.
Bernie shut that
You
down.
weren't going in the blue tent.
But, ultimately the question becomes, okay, so Baker kept trotting himself out there and the team never did the responsible thing.
I don't think that's
you're
a fair.
not good.
Again, I don't think that's a fair comparison to keep bringing up Baker. Baker had it was his non-throwing shoulder. This is his throwing shoulder.
Yeah, but Bernie might be able to tell us
different.
that. I don't know if you ever had anything to your non-throwing shoulder, but last year Tony Romo said,
Please debunk
anybody who says that just because it's the non-throwing shoulder
What?
has never thrown a
But the
football
truth
with
is,
velocity.
and you know this, we've all listened to Tony Romo. He's dumb as a stump. We're all aware
Oh,
of that.
totally disagree with that. No, I totally disagree.
I'm kidding.
I like
great.
Tony. I really do like Tony. Again, nothing's as bad
No, of course
as the
not.
the
That's right. That's the
rotator
motor.
cuff. Okay, the left arm is massively challenging. It happened a lot to me.
Did you have it too?
Oh, God, yeah, because you're leading into it. And I was pretty adept because I knew I was getting hit all the time to making sure this was the shoulder that took him. And
Right.
I tried to learn to fall on these. So this one always was messed up with it. So that throws it off. But again, it's whether it's Baker coming out and playing at 90%. Or again, man, Tim Couch. You know how much I love him.
Sure.
Okay, and how much more, even forget my personal love for him, my awesome respect for him as a quarterback, and to have his career really derailed, and for him to think he wasn't good because he went out there too. Yeah. So the ramifications of going out there and is
What, if you had to split the percentage, like it's 50% team, 50% player, what is the split? In most cases, I know it's different probably team to team, but when these conversations are had, how much voice does Deshaun have? How much voice does the team have?
So this may not be fair, but like life, like some of the times, the higher you are on the food chain,
right?
The
more say you have.
The more say you have.
Okay.
The franchise quarterback has significally higher on the food chain. So
P.J. Walker doesn't have any say.
Right. So
no. If he's hurt, he's coming out.
So they're at the mercy of the docs and stuff. But it's probably a good more than 50%, especially when you're able more 50% that the player has that.
How about Brady, the superstar, Belichick, the superstar coach? What do you think the dynamic was there?
So
Brady did whatever he wanted?
No, because both of them were obsessively wanting to play. That what they both wanted was the same thing.
That's true.
You know, they both wanted the same thing. So that obsessiveness to get it done.
We're out of time.
Yeah, we are.
Overtime. Is Bernie sticking around for overtime?
Yep. Can you stick around for overtime?
No,
or you got to go.
Bernie's running upstairs to take
Bernie's
You
gotta go
guys are
upstairs.
dragging
That's
me
right.
up for your.
That's right.
Bernie a
tomorrow.
businessman.
For the Big Friday show,
He got
yeah.
to move and shake. He can't be down here
Yeah, I
for
know.
overtime.
He's never
Bernie's
won
got me in the
spot
basement,
for too
man.
long.
I love it.
He
man.
actually told Taylor, "I'd like to stay here, but I got to go." So he left that. He left that room.
Got to run.
Where?
She was like, "What about your contact information?" I'll just get it from somebody else. No,
Find me on Twitter.
Got to meet
You
up.
matter. I got to go.
DM me.
Bernie, great to have you in. We'll see
Yeah.
you again tomorrow on the Friday show
Thanks,
and then next
Bernie.
week as well.
Sounds good. You matter.
The
Go
great
Browns.
Bernie Kosar. Overtime next.